An I-Team exclusive now. New details about allegations of sex abuse by Catholic priests in Rhode Island going back decades.
The information uncovered by the I-Team in state police files, never before seen by the public. And the I-Team's Katie Davis has been working the story for months.
3 Catholic priests forced out of Rhode Island parishes in the last year and a half, all of them credibly accused of sexually abusing children years earlier. In each case, a letter detailing allegations of abuse sent to Rhode Island State Police by the Diocese of Providence. The I-Team learned the diocese began the practice around 2003, although there's no legal mandate requiring the letters. So we wondered how many other letters are out there and what do those documents say? To find out, the I-Team began a series of public records requests over a 6-month period, asking state police to search their files. The results, 88 pages detailing sexual abuse by Rhode Island priests, going back more than 30 years. A total of 45 letters sent to state police between 2003 and 2013. The documents heavily redacted by state police. The names of priests blacked out, even those who are already dead. Dates and locations blacked out. Names of churches blacked out. But what remains is disturbing. Allegations from victims, including children forced to have oral sex with priests, others repeatedly raped. Some told no one would believe them if they reported the abuse.
The letters themselves only tell us the tip of the iceberg, and it's an ugly iceberg.
Helen McGonigal grew up in East Greenwich, where she says she was sexually abused over a 4-year period at Our Lady of Mercy by a priest visiting Rhode Island from Ireland. That priest, a notorious pedophile, Father Brendan Smith. He died in prison in Ireland in 1997, convicted on more than 140 counts of child molestation. But from 1965 to 1969, he spent part of each year in East Greenwich, working directly with children in Rhode Island as a priest, coach, and scout leader.
In my parish, I know of at least a dozen victims of Father Brendan Smith.
McGonigal says she reported her abuse to the church in 2006, just after her sister, who she says was also abused by Smith, committed suicide. She says she was interviewed by 2 diocese officials for more than an hour. But when she read the letters uncovered by NBC 10, she found no record of her case being reported to state police.
What was your reaction when you didn't see yourself in any of the letters?
Frustration and anger, because I can't understand the logic.
NBC 10 asked Bishop Thomas Tobin for an interview to explain the letter-writing policy and to get the church's side of the story.
A spokeswoman said he wasn't available to go on camera, but in a written statement, the diocese says, quote, the diocese reports every allegation of sexual abuse of minors to the Rhode Island State Police or other local law enforcement agencies.
The letters were heavily redacted. I mean, the effort was made so that you couldn't even understand what year it took place or what parish it took place in or what town.
Ann Barrett Doyle heads Bishop Accountability, a watchdog group that collects and publishes documents about priest sexual abuse. She worries some of the priests described in the letters could still be working in Rhode Island churches, still in contact with children.
Even if the statute of limitations have expired on some of these alleged crimes, the diocese is under a moral imperative to remove priests suspected of misconduct from ministry.
In its statement, the diocese responded, quote, there are no priests currently in ministry of any sort in the Diocese of Providence who have had credible allegations of sexual abuse of minors lodged against them.
Now that we know how big this iceberg is, the next step is to demand disclosure from this diocese.
The only way you can have healing and reconcile is to know the truth.
Helen McGonigal filed a lawsuit against the diocese in 2008, joined by her childhood neighbor, Jeffrey Thomas.
I played basketball. I was only in the 2nd grade. And
Their case is still working its way through the court system as they fight Rhode Island's statute of limitations and seek financial damages.
It's not about money. It's about exposing the truth, which is vitally important to me. And really, you know, it should be important to the diocese.
Tomorrow we'll take a closer look at the allegations in the letters themselves and the stories from victims. Katie Davis, NBC 10 News.
New details now on an I-Team exclusive.
Allegations of sexual abuse by Catholic priests in Rhode Island going back decades. The I-Team uncovered it in state police files never before seen by the public.
And the I-Team's Katie Davis broke the story tonight. She's taking a closer look at the victims' stories.
The 45 letters were heavily redacted by state police before NBC 10 got them. Priests' names, as well as the dates and locations of abuse, blacked out. But what remains is still disturbing.
The letters stamped confidential, the details chilling. Children forced to engage in oral sex, raped, even told no one would believe them. The documents sent to Rhode Island State Police by the Diocese of Providence between 2003 and 2013, reporting allegations against priests that appear to date back decades.
I think that if there's ever been a child who's assaulted, then there is an obligation to let it be investigated fairly.
Even if it's been decades?
I think so. I mean, if it hasn't ever been investigated before, and if the person who is the perpetrator is still out there, I think everybody benefits from an investigation.
Deputy Attorney General Jerry Coyne has worked on priest abuse cases in Rhode Island for more than a decade. He says the diocese began sending letters to state police after Attorney General Sheldon Whitehouse, now one of Rhode Island's senators, expressed concerns back in 2000. Whitehouse asked the diocese to report any allegations of sexual abuse to law enforcement. But as long as the statute of limitations had expired, it was a request, not a requirement.
Well, there's no legal requirement for sending letters. But a lot of the letters and a lot of the complaints that come in tend to be historical. They tend to date back quite a ways.
Some of the 45 letters the I-Team found in state police files involve allegations that are decades old. The documents heavily redacted by state police. What remains in the 88 pages are victims' stories. This 2005 letter from a woman who reports that for years she was molested and raped by a priest visiting Rhode Island from overseas.
He placed himself on top of me, opened up his pants, and exposed himself. When he was done, he told me to go home. He further stated that nobody would believe me.
This one from 2006 from a victim who reports she was abused at a Catholic school.
The priest had Hustler magazine laid out and would act out with the girls various poses depicted in the magazine. There were other classmates who were also sexually assaulted.
And this 2011 letter from a male victim who reports
assaults that took place in the gym showers, the priest's bedroom, and a multifunction building in the gym and stage area of the school.
That was positively shocking to me as a lawyer when I've read many cases of a criminal nature, and here I am seeing my own church, and it's on their letterhead.
Helen McGonigal grew up in East Greenwich, where she says she was sexually abused over a 4-year period in the 1960s at Our Lady of Mercy by a priest visiting Rhode Island from Ireland. That priest, a notorious pedophile, Father Brendan Smith. He died in prison in Ireland in 1997, convicted on more than 140 counts of child molestation. McGonigal says she reported her abuse to the church in 2006, but when she read the letters uncovered by NBC 10, she found no record of her case being reported to state police.
If they're doing it selectively, then that's not right. That's absolutely not right. They have to do it in all cases.
Bishop Thomas Tobin declined to sit down with the I-Team for an on-camera interview. But in a written statement late Monday, the diocese says, quote, the diocese reports every allegation of sexual abuse of minors to the Rhode Island State Police or other local law enforcement agencies. And, quote, there are no priests currently in ministry of any sort in the Diocese of Providence who have had credible allegations of sexual abuse of minors lodged against them. Coyne says Rhode Island needs a better way to track allegations, even if decades have passed and the statute of limitations has expired.
Whether it's the state police or some other place, there needs to be a central repository.
Which we don't have now.
Not in a formal sense, no.
The diocese also says that it is very aggressive in responding to allegations of sexual abuse involving children while respecting the rights of everyone involved. None of the cases in the 45 letters was prosecuted, possibly because the priest had died, the statute of limitations had run out, or there wasn't enough evidence. You can read the documents right now for yourself on our website, turnto10.com. Of course, victims' names and identifying details are blacked out. Katie Davis, NBC 10 News.
Now to an I-Team exclusive tonight. An alleged victim of priest sexual abuse calling for more transparency from the Diocese of Providence after an NBC 10 investigation.
The I-Team uncovered dozens of letters detailing abuse by Catholic priests and local churches going back decades.
A man who grew up in Rhode Island says he found his own case in those files, and tonight he's talking for the first time to the I-Team's Katie Davis.
This letter is the most recent one the I-Team found in state police files. The Diocese of Providence sent it to detectives just a few months ago. Now, the man described in the report is coming forward, asking for more transparency for himself and other victims.
The letter was written just 10 months ago, but it details an alleged assault from 48 years earlier. The alleged victim, Joe Corcoran, speaking out for the first time to NBC 10.
It didn't get easier like you would think as time went by. The memories, it got harder.
Corcoran grew up in Warwick. As a high school student in the late 1960s, he worked at the Providence Visitor, the Catholic newspaper published by the Diocese of Providence. It was one of the paper's editors, Father John Ferry, who Corcoran says sexually assaulted him.
People have asked me, would you rather have had that happen or gotten bitten by a shark? I'd rather be bitten by a shark.
Corcoran says the assault happened here inside the wooded Arcadia management area in Exeter, where Ferry took the teen for a picnic. He says the priest forced him to drink from a thermos, and the liquid inside left him drugged and unconscious.
I passed out. I remember being on this blanket. He was having a picnic. The sky was twirling. And thinking back to when he dropped me off, like a rag doll. Semi-conscious. My father, when he got back later in the day, went to our parish with a baseball bat. Nobody reported it back then. It was part of the culture.
It's that culture Corcoran hopes to change. His letter and more than 40 others were uncovered by the I-Team through a series of public record requests over a 6-month period. But the documents were heavily redacted by state police. The names of priests, the dates of the abuse, churches, cities, and towns, all blacked out.
And I'm reading between the lines, and it's all about me.
So Corcoran showed the I-Team unredacted letters he received from the diocese, which confirm Father Ferry died in 1988.
A lot of things that are blacked out, I think, should be told. The name of the priest, where this happened.
The church is still trying to protect its image, is still trying to minimize its damages.
Bob Houghton served as a Catholic priest in New Jersey until last year when he voluntarily turned in his collar and began working full-time for a victims organization called Road to Recovery.
The more the truth comes out, the more the church will be cleansed of this horror, and it will stop.
Other dioceses across the country have publicly identified priests accused of sexual abuse, even those who are dead. Here in New England, the Archdiocese of Boston posted a list of accused priests' names on its website. But so far, the Diocese of Providence has not released its own list to the public.
There's no reason why we can't know where Father X and Father Y served and how many kids have made abuse claims from that parish or those parishes.
In recent years, the diocese has released the names of individual priests who were removed from ministry due to sexual abuse. In 2012 and 2013, 3 priests were kicked out of Rhode Island parishes after victims came forward to report assaults that happened years earlier. In each case, the diocese alerted the media as well as state police. But how many total priests have been accused over the years remains secret, along with many of their names.
The more information, the better. This is 2013.
The I-Team asked Bishop Thomas Tobin to explain the diocese policies, but he declined to sit down for an interview. A spokeswoman says the diocese is paying for Corcoran's counseling since he came forward this year, but the diocese won't comment specifically on the allegations against the priest in the case, Father Ferry, or whether he was ever disciplined. Corcoran hopes to change the statute of limitations in Rhode Island, now as short as 3 years in some sexual abuse cases. He wants victims to have more time to file civil lawsuits or criminal charges if a priest is still alive.
I think it should just be across the board, no statute of limitations on, molestations.
And you can read all 45 of the letters the I-Team uncovered in state police files for yourself on our website, turnto10.com. Of course, victims' names and identifying details are blacked out. We'll continue to follow the story for you in the days to come. Katie Davis, NBC 10 News.